You've probably had a question that you have thought about throughout your entire life, whether it be like, where am I going in life? What am I going to do with the rest of my life? That is a philosophical question, regardless if you're just wanting to know what kind of job you're going to do or whatever. It's still a philosophical question.
I'd say life is a choose your own adventure book. And what philosophy does is it does that thing where you say, you know, you can go to page 20 if this happens, or go to page 80 if this happens. And on page 80, it just says you die. You know, you're playing those games and you just skip that bit and you don't go to page 80, you decide to go to page 20 after all. That's what philosophy can do for you.
One key trait about philosophy is that there's like unresolved arguments all the time that never can come to a consensus or agreement. It's always disagreements constantly, but that's actually part of a trick that's actually really good.
A little bit of philosophy makes you Deepak Chopra. Studying philosophy makes you an alcoholic.
Yeah.
But the question here, Dave, is, you know, what do you mean by a little?
Hello everybody, welcome back to Living with Philosophy. We made it.
Well, no intro.
Play the intro. You just
Oh,
get to see
shit.
it. I told you I
Sorry.
was playing the intro.
I know, but you say
Nobody
lots of
ever listens
things. You told me once you were Canadian and I believed you.
You idiot! You
Yeah.
fool!
We all know that she doesn't actually exist. She's a CIA plant.
You've
Yeah.
been bamboozled. All right, hi, welcome back. We don't know where Dave is. So if anybody sees him, let him know that we're here.
Dave,
that's okay.
if you are out there, we are here waiting for you.
We're not waiting. So everybody's got labels, so we got Opie, we got Barry, we got least qualified ever about anything. Don't ask me anything about anything ever.
That's not true.
That is,
Joke's on you. I'm the least qualified of everything.
Hey. So all right. So today we're talking about last time Obi brought up C.A.R.E as like an acronym, or that's an acronym, right?
Opie made this up, right? This is
Yeah.
from his mind, right? Oh yes, the sound is gone again. Brilliant.
I think it's just delayed. No, your sound is gone. I think you need to speak louder. I think your mic is actually, what's happening is your mic actually.
No, that's not it.
No, apparently not.
Oh,
But just not.
what did you do? Oh, Opie, what did you do from the time that we were not live to now that messed everything up?
Don't tell us with words because we can't hear you.
Yeah, we can't hear you. But whatever you did, don't do that
You need to
again.
do charades.
But did C.A.R.E come from your mind, Opie? Did you make up this C.A.R.E thing? Just nod yes if you did and no if you didn't. You did, yeah, it came from him. That's pretty cool, right? He made it up.
Yeah.
You made it up.
Oh, yeah, I like that. That was supposed to be me saying something nice about Opie, and I ended up ripping on him for like 20 seconds. We hear you all but Opie, yeah.
Yeah, we're working on that.
Well, he said the last time when his sound came back on. Yeah, we know. Thanks, Moshi. Moshi, FBI desu?
Moshi, FBI desu.
When his sound came on the last time, he said he did nothing at all to make the sound come on. It just sort of happened. So maybe it will recur with the same level of arbitrariness.
Well, why don't we let Frustrated and Barry introduce themselves then? Well, Opie screams at us.
Okay,
from
this
the
is
void.
Frustrated Atheist. He just woke up. And his hobbies include walks on the beach and horse riding, and his favorite color is orange.
I absolutely love the idea that now Frustrated gets to
And that is Barry. That is Barry. You see, he's Irish, and his hobbies include watching paint dry. He likes to also watch the grass grow.
That is true.
And he also and he doesn't like to tell this to everybody, so don't tell anybody else. Sorry, guys. But what he likes to do is he likes to peek into windows, not to do anything nefarious. He just likes to watch people as they watch TV.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
That's
so you like stand outside on the sidewalk when somebody's got their TV and their blinds open, and you just watch whatever they're watching.
What the fuck is with this streaming shit? I gotta pay like for Netflix and Discovery Plus and Disney Plus and all these Paramount shit. I'm not paying for everything, man. I'm just gonna pay. Look through someone's window and look at South Park that way. Come on, man.
Exactly. What like he's being financially responsible.
Yeah, I'm a catch. All right, I know how to
Very
manage my budget.
conservative of
I shouldn't have told Frustrated Atheist about that. Maybe.
probably not.
I'm that kind of Irish.
Probably. Look, I didn't look. I only told how many people are watching us right now.
I wouldn't tell this man.
How many people are watching us right this very second?
The
Ugh, I only told 6 of us of our closest friends.
Then they'll tell 6, and then they'll tell 6.
I like the idea. How, by the way, Frustrated, how's your TikTok?
It is going. I haven't streamed because of the fact that I'm still in the process of moving. So I haven't actually moved yet, but that will happen sometime this weekend. So, but once I do move, I will be settling in and doing that at more reasonable, more times than I have been, which has been just
I
sporadic.
can hear a woman's voice.
Yeah, that's something going on in Frustrated's background.
That is the love of my life who called me, who is literally just listening to us ramble and talk. As
She's gonna watch this live.
She is not watching, and she's actually making breakfast for.
So she's listening to it live
for children.
No, she's listening
she's
to
listening to
part
it.
of us.
Hello. Oh, great! Yeah.
Wait, hold on. All right, babe. They said hello to you.
Hello.
Hello.
Here.
She's got to join the stream sometime.
Mars making red pancakes.
She's making red pancakes.
Well, that's I gotta say that's a euphemism I haven't heard before. Interesting.
Oh, no euphemism here. It literally is pancakes that she dyed red.
Oh,
It's red. It's the color red.
Oh, I
Why do
see.
you do that?
Okay.
You're supposed to use the cup as a.
We're the most professional show about philosophy you will ever see on the internet.
I'm definitely keeping that one.
So OP
My
popped
girlfriend
in,
kind of starts
and
being
now he
weird.
has
I'll
no
say, "Hey, I like
camera.
red pancakes, do you?" Okay. Opie, now
Oh
the
my
camera's
god!
on. Hey, I can hear him.
Ah!
We have
I magician?
sound and vision.
Okay,
We're
good.
here.
Now we're
Hear
here.
him.
Finally have you, Opie.
Opie, welcome. How are
Yeah.
you?
I'm back from hell.
Blue VMix hell.
That was probably part of the problem, is that I was running vmix and this at the same time.
Oh my god. Me
So
and
here we
you
go.
are gonna spend some time together.
Yeah,
Me
that's
and you
fair.
are gonna spend some time together, and we're gonna forget this.
But no, I'm alive.
He's alive. Live.
I should warn you,
Everybody's
Opie.
Yeah.
Going
When she'll
through
say
it.
things like, "You and me should spend time together. We'll fix this." What
Yeah,
actually happen is they're going to go through the
school's
entire
great.
Final Fantasy VII.
I'm just kicking ass at that, and that's about it.
Nice.
Oh, and last 3 days I've ran 13 miles so far. So
Oh, that's
well,
impressive.
yeah.
So, you're the one sort of in charge of today.
Yeah,
You're
yeah.
saying that you made it.
yeah. It started off as just like so I separate I'm going to start on the philosophy of science. The science of activity is like what creatures do to model reality, but then there's discourse and institution. And in discourse, I kind of wanted some sort of virtues that like allowed people to explain their research like ethically. And these 4 things worked out for me in that sense, where it's like you have to be clear, you have to own up to your ideas, you have to be able to revise them, and then you should also make sure that they're accurate to doing science. So that's why I did that.
Yeah,
But then you can apply it to real world situations like, like parenting or friendships and stuff like that. So
Yeah, but you can't say that to people. You can't say, "I'm doing this to you now." You just got to keep that in the back of your head when you're talking to them.
I have some notes I'm getting.
I like to say that. I usually, when I do stuff with people, I tell them out loud exactly what I am doing, and then I proceed to do that thing. And when I proceed to do that thing, they still don't understand what I'm doing. I like to walk people through it.
Yeah. No. What's it called? So like with one way I tested this out is like what would happen if like you only had 3 out of these 4, and then it's like you could be like super accountable and able to change your mind and like be truthful, but if like you're just using jargon, like no one's gonna understand you. So like that's why clarity is so important. Accountability, like if you're like able to change your ideas and you're conveying them clearly, but like you're always going to blame something else other than yourself. Like that's not cool at all for discussing. Like it erodes trust that way. So accountability is important for that. And then revisability. If you're just gonna like, oh, I've been doing it this way for how many years? Like I'm not going to change my ways. Like that's not going to be a good idea. You have to be able to adapt to different situations. So
It's difficult though.
no
I can
problem.
hear you.
Good. Yeah, I know you guys. So I'm not gonna sound as good to you guys, but I should sound better.
Okay.
You just
Sound better to whom?
to the stream. I don't like my my audio was trying to do both, so I'm just
Okay.
changing it so that way it's not trying to do both anymore, and it works. Where are you?
Now you sound like David Bowie in Heroes. Like
Yeah, Penny. Where's my
What to
am I
say?
blind? What am I doing? My noise gate is too high. There we go. That should be good. All right. So why don't you go through for us like what exactly like line by line? So what is C? What is A? What is R? What is E?
So C is clarity. It's just expressing your like what you mean, like as clear as possible, with like precise terms, but also like don't just try to be obfuscating it with like jargon. You start to see that with a lot of people, they'll use fancy words just that have double meanings, or they'll speak in half truths. Like they'll be technically correct, but like they're missing a lot of parts of it, and that's not good either.
I feel like that's like you're technically correct. If you're technically correct, you're usually the asshole in a conversation. Like if you're arguing for being technically correct, then I feel like you usually missed the point of like whatever conversation you're a part of.
Mm-hmm.
Also, clarity will mean different things.
And then accountability, you have to actually own up to
the
the
clarity will
consequences
be.
of what
Wait,
you're
we're
saying.
not done.
Oh,
We got to do one at a
Clarity.
time.
one at a
talk about
time,
clarity.
fine. Anybody else want to talk about clarity?
I know. I want to ask you.
Barry's got questions. Can you not hear
Clarity's
Barry?
Can you hear me?
No, I can't.
You can't.
What is going on?
You can hear everybody, but not me.
That's
How's that possible?
that's
Can you
the-
hear me?
What?
Can you hear me?
Yeah, I'm just kidding.
So you can hear everybody except me.
can hear
That's
everybody but
wonderful.
Barry. That's
Yeah.
wacky.
When somebody walks out and comes back in, somebody else loses it.
I can hear Barry.
Oh, you can?
How about now?
That's weird.
No. Okay.
Everybody can hear Barry but you.
You're just gonna have
Yes.
to relay
Do
my
you
question
have
word for
Barry
word then.
muted
Okay.
somewhere?
No.
Tell him clarity. It means different things to different
I
people.
don't even know how I could do that.
he
but I
said-
can hear you.
Barry told me to tell you that clarity can mean different things to different people. So do you have like a specific? Well, then he stopped.
So
I'm
sometimes
not
if
gonna-
you're using precise language, it's going to
So
sound like
sometimes
jargon
if you're
to people.
using precise language, go on.
It's going to sound like
No,
jargon to
continue.
them.
It's
I
gonna
was
sound
just-
like jargon. So you
Oh,
think you're being clear, but they don't.
I guess being able to explain it at different, scales of like expertise, you know? Like I'm not going to be
Mm.
talking to a 5-year-old about paleontology at its like highest, jargon, but I can probably use that like, to my professor or something like that, Know your audience on that.
That 5-year-old should be able to know all this technical jargon. Okay, there's no reason that 5-year-old, like, if your 5-year-old is not like able to grasp philosophical concepts, then you're doing wrong as a parent.
I think 5-year-olds grasp some philosophical concepts better than adults do, because like adults have too many hangups.
True.
Yeah.
The concepts themselves, but like not like the words themselves. Or
I mean,
something
that's
like
because we don't use the words. If you had a child and you popped the baby out and then you just used philosophical language all the time around that baby is going to know the philosophical words. They're going to know the language. They'll understand what it means.
Don't tempt me, Bilbo.
Yeah, so you could do that. Like, I have this whole theory that it'd be super duper funny if I ever had a kid to teach them all the colors, the wrong words. So they would know what the colors are, but they would all know them by different names.
That's amazing.
So like purple is orange and orange is blue and blue is green. So they just call them all differently, but they know what they are. And then they go to fucking kindergarten and get beat up because
And then
The
do that with
funniest thing
numbers.
is the funniest thing is my oldest nephew, whenever he was about 4 or 5, this kid, like, at that age, I'm like, that's a T-Rex, that's a 3-horn, that's a this, that's a that, these basic simple things. He's like, yeah, that's Velociraptor, that's Bronchiosaurus, that's all
Yes.
these big names, and I'm like,
Why do you know these? Yeah, because they're
How-
kids
how
and
do you know these things?
they're information sponges. So if you were to just take a child and you were just to use philosophical, technical words around those kids in a way that was conducive to like the way you talk about like cooking, it's the difference between having like a kid.
but like for real, get them tested.
If you have like a kid who's like grows
oh,
up around a
he's
chef.
he's been tested.
If you have a kid that grows up around a chef, they might know the different names for all of the knives, like a paring knife and like whereas like another kid won't. But that's because the parents are using that language around that kid, whether they know that they're doing it or not. Barry, try leaving and coming back in and see if Opie can hear you.
The other thing is the intention. If you're intending to be as clear as possible, if you're trying to hide or obfuscate things on purpose, that's like the antithesis of this virtue, is like what's going on in your what you're intending to do when you're trying to explain anything, really, trying to convey any message to somebody. So
all right, testing. We can't hear Barry.
I'm just fucking with you.
oh, there we
Okay.
go.
Oh, I hope you can hear me.
Yeah, I can hear you.
Oh, nice.
All right,
Sorry.
we're fixed.
I had so many questions.
All right, Barry, you're free. You've been unleashed.
That's it. It's just the clarity thing. I like the clarity thing. It's good, but
Um,
I'm not sure how you
whipped out
parse for clarity without patronizing people by comparing them to 5-year-olds.
The other part is intent. When you're discussing how clear you are, it's intent. If you're trying to obfuscate or hide things from somebody, then that's the antithesis of that virtue.
Okay.
So
I think you
like
can
it.
get around with that. I think you can get around being condescending by just knowing your audience, like knowing who you're talking to. Like a lot of that is just communication skill, as opposed to
Yeah,
like
I don't have
your
any of that.
intention.
I don't never know any level I'm on. I just
Well, get
I talk
good.
to 5-year-olds and old people exactly the same. Tramps and kings.
you expect them to understand you at all times.
It's not that I expect them to. It's that I don't have access to the information I need to figure it out.
The way I usually try to avoid being condescending is I try to ask clarifying questions to see like where they're at. So if I say something, I say, "Do you know what I'm talking about?" or "Do you know what I mean?"
I have said things to people where they said, "Oh, we know that, Barry. Why do you think I wouldn't know that?" And I just say, "Well, look, I'm not arrogant to assume that you know everything I know. I'm not that arrogant, and I'm not going to judge anybody. So that's all I can do. But that's always after the fact. If I could do Opie's
I'm not
thing
going to
before the
assume
fact,
that
it
you
would
know
solve
what
all the
I
problems.
know. I'm
well,
smarter than you.
No, not smarter, but like you would know things I don't know as well. I'm not going to be arrogant
Yeah.
enough to assume that everybody knows exactly the same things that I know, and Vicky Verky as well.
I
So-
usually try to gauge how learned somebody is in a subject
Barry,
as
did
I'm
you just
working into the
assume I know
conversation.
what Vicky Berkey was?
Vice versa. I was mispronouncing it. Sorry. For the reasons of humor.
I just feel like that's more of a communication issue as opposed to a clarity issue, because you can be super clear and be condescending at the same time if you want to.
Well, communication and clarity are connected.
Yes, they're connected. I more mean that like if you don't want to be condescending, your approach is going to matter more than what you're actually saying.
Look, I've sat there and there's several
Your
times where
attitude.
I've explained it. I explained a concept to somebody in the most basic terms ever, and they still don't get it. So
it's not this
I
one.
do get even more clarifying, but it sounds really, really condescending. I'm like, well, so you know that this here, and they're like, why are you speaking to me like I'm 5? And I'm like,
Because you're acting
because
like you're 5.
clearly you're acting like it. Like that's all I can tell you.
It goes
I
in the
tried to
square
go
hole.
this way.
I think that there are times
Okay.
where you do have to like roll things back and you have to walk somebody through step by step. But this is where I like to just be clear about what I'm doing right out the gate and be like, listen, I'm gonna walk through that. Just bear with me. This is for me, not for you, because we're not understanding each other, and I don't know where we're not understanding each other. So I'm going to go step by step, and then you tell me yes or no as we go through this, and then you will find out where we disagree.
Clarity is also not just what you know, but what you don't know. So if like you
Yeah.
clearly don't know what's going on, like please, like that's the other part of it is like, try to
say
learn
so.
more about it. Yeah, just say so.
Yeah, and what really gets really, really hurtful to communicating
I
properly
don't want the
is
whole
you'll have
short to start.
people
It's the
who
church.
will sit there and
That's one.
when you say, "Hey, I don't know that concept. Can you explain it to me?" And they're like, "What? So you don't even know this, but you want to talk about this subject and blah blah?" It's
Yeah.
like, just because I don't know every single aspect of this doesn't mean I don't know what the hell I'm talking about. I just don't know this particular aspect.
Mhm.
I agree. All right, what's the next
Okay.
one? That's clarity.
This one's the fun one. Accountability. So
Oh God!
owning up to the consequences of your beliefs, basically. Like,
No.
Look,
if
everything
you're
that's
shown,
actually wrong with me is actually Barry's fault. I mean, that's all I'm saying.
He's not wrong.
No, he's not. No, that's fine. I get that. That's fine.
I think accountability is interesting because I think people don't. So on a larger social media scale, at least, I think that there's people don't even they'll talk about accountability, but then will be horrifically unforgiving. So it's like, okay, if you want somebody to be accountable, you need to know what that person can do. Like, what is accountability? Like, what do you want from them? Like, so let's pretend like Amber Heard wanted to come back and make a comeback and be an actress again and wanted people to forgive her for whatever went on with that. Whatever you believe did or did not happen, whatever your opinion is. But let's say she wanted to come back. Clearly, she is grossly disliked by a large swaths of people. What could she do to take accountability for what happened to the people who believe that she's wronged people or whatever? And if you don't have an answer to that, then I don't know how seriously you're taking it. You just
There's
are
no,
a hater.
but there's no upside to her for doing that.
No, but I'm saying hypothetically.
Oh, hypothetically, like if there was some reason why she might want to do it.
Yeah.
Well, then we'd have to get into what that reason would be, and then she could leverage that in the accountability tour.
I think so. Yeah.
yeah, part of that comes from within first, not from how other people are holding you accountable, but how do you hold yourself accountable on that? So.
Yeah, because there's the difference between holding yourself accountable and societally, and I'm just saying from a society standpoint, I think when people are riled up or people get really mad at a singular person, they want accountability, but they don't actually know what they're asking for. Like, what do you want from that? What do you want that person to do? So, like, if your parent lies to you, and you catch them in a lie, and that lie harmed you in some way, and you want that parent to be accountable to you, what does that mean to you? What are you asking for? Because if you don't know what that is and you can't communicate to them what that is, then they can't possibly know what you want because you don't know what you want.
Well,
and that doesn't mean, and that's assuming like they're
philosophical
trying to be accountable.
Like when you say accountability, you mean something like if I'm having a philosophical discussion with somebody and I get something wrong, I say, "Oh, I got that wrong," right?
Pretty much that, or another thing is like, what is it?
My fiance would like to chime in with what she's looking for is accountability and change. I'm sorry, an apology and change.
No one's ever going to get an apology from me. Fuck that.
Never. Not even your own kids.
What?
I think that, I think accountability
not even your own kids.
Does come with, it depends on, the severity of the issue, right?
But, also taking it to its ends. So, if you have, some sort of, moral philosophy, somebody's going to find something about it, and you either have to own up to it or, change it.
I think the word you're looking for is acknowledgement.
Yeah, I'll do that. I'll say when I get something wrong and I'll acknowledge it and I'll say there's things I shouldn't have done. It was terrible. I was hurtful and so on. I ain't going to apologize to no bitch.
I think that there's also a difference between an apology tends to be a little bit more about behavior as opposed to just being incorrect. If you're wrong about something and you're a dick about it, then you need to apologize. If you're just wrong about something and you need to correct your information, you just need to acknowledge that you were wrong about something and correct the information.
Just
so I think accountability
what if you're right about things and you're a dick about it?
That's a different problem.
But also that's also a part of this virtue is that say you really believe that your theory on science is correct, but people are still trying to prove it wrong. Stand with it as long as possible.
Okay.
I don't think there's a problem with like. I just think my issue, my thing that irritates me. Let's call it a pet peeve. I don't know if it's really a pet peeve, but I find it irritating mildly when it comes up. And it's people are being dicks on the internet on purpose, and then somebody says, "Hey, you're being a dick," and then they start crying about it. And it's like, if you're being a dick on purpose, then own being a dick on purpose. You don't get to be the badass dick and then turn around and be like, "Nah, they said I was an asshole." It's like, yeah, you're being an asshole. You know you're being an asshole. Stop being an asshole.
Look,
So
I would just
stupid.
want to be an asshole, and I don't want y'all to call me out about it, okay?
Well, I mean, then just say that.
It's being a coward.
I'll take that. That's accountability. I'm being an asshole, and I don't want you to call me out on it. Stop.
I feel lonely if people don't call me out and being an asshole. I'm like, dude, I'm putting all my energy into this thing, and nobody's calling me out.
Look, I put a lot of hard work and dedication into being an asshole. I want people to sit there and say, "Hey, you're an asshole." I'll be like, "Thank you. I'm glad you noticed."
Where's my give me the credit.
Exactly. That's the thing. If you're gonna be a dick online, then fucking be that dick. Don't turn around and pretend that you're so hurt that somebody noticed.
Or lashed back, you know.
I mean, I don't mind if people lash back a little bit because
no, but own it. Like you expect it if you're gonna, you know.
Did you say a few moments ago that accountability for you also contains the idea that when you know you're right about something, to stick with it?
Yeah.
Because the same thing as we're still on section A.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Cool. Thanks.
I think that accountability comes to does it come to an ideal of like, if you're right about something and you earnestly believe you're right and you are honestly engaging in criticisms and conversation about whatever it is you're talking about, and it has like passed the test of continuing to be correct so
for yourself
far,
at least.
Yeah, even if it has convinced one or two people, right? Is it I think how you stick to your guns matters. Because like you can stick to your guns and not constantly be fighting with everybody all of the time. Right? Because if you're confident, you don't have to be screaming about it, right?
Exactly. It's a behavior thing of like, no, if you see somebody being accountable, you know that they're at least consistent, and you can trust that in the next interaction with them that they'll maintain that consistency. So that's the way of, you know, you can trust them. Even if they were wrong this time, you know, like next time, like you can approach them at least, you know.
Yeah. You have a series of expectations.
Well, I mean, you kind of decide who you can and cannot have conversations with based on trial and error.
Yeah.
And what those topics are, because sometimes you can have a great conversation with one person about one topic and a horrible conversation with the same person about a different topic.
We're accountable to different things.
Well, I think that's the value in like the personal and self philosophy we've talked about in the past. Because if you're consistent, then you'll know which conversations you can deal with, so you can avoid having bad conversations with good people. Right.
Exactly.
So like, I'm not gonna try and convince Barry to play fucking God of War again because he won't fucking do it.
Half an hour on a live stream. A good solid 30 minutes on a live stream. Chesh tried to talk me to playing God of War.
I think it was actually after the stream was over. I don't think it's live.
Oh, was it in the green room? Sorry.
Yeah, I think it was in the green room.
I'm sorry. But it was a thing. It was a thing. And I just said no because I'm actually in the middle of reading the Iliad and it would seem ridiculous to play a game that's based on it.
It was it was it the Iliad? Whatever.
Best translation.
I don't know if you guys.
Wilson's translation is the best translation of the Iliad. It's wonderful.
I don't know if you guys noticed.
She's fantastic. Also, her translation of the Odyssey is just absolutely great. It's new translations, but she's wonderful at it. She knows her business.
I'll have to check that out. Yeah. Yeah, if you can get a link to me, I'll post it for people to go find.
In all seriousness, like I've read it like over a decade ago for school and stuff like that, but those are the professor approved versions, not
Emily Wilson.
No, not that. Not those, but whatever I read was whatever they, thought was important. So.
I don't know if you guys noticed, but Barry just apologized to me.
Yeah.
It's almost like when you're wrong, and if you know how to be wrong, it's not hard and it's not a big deal, and nobody fucking cares. Like it's real. Like people make this big deal about being wrong, and because people just don't know how to be wrong. I don't even know if Barry was wrong. I just think And he was immediately like, maybe it was.
I'm never wrong, so it's okay. It's okay. I don't know how that feels.
You're an exception.
I was wrong. July 23, 1998.
What about it?
I'm not going to tell you and give you the power.
Oh, okay. I don't know. I was told recently that I really need to remember the November 14th. Or September 14th. So I made a live stream because I don't know what I'm supposed to be remembering about the future. Yeah, I think accountability is tricky. Because I think it's one of those things that everybody's going to have. When it's a personal relationship, you have to have like what you want and then what the other people want. And then when it's like just a generalized conversation, you're going to have what you want and then you're going to have the expectations of whoever's watching. So like if I I run a channel, right? I run yada yada yada. So I have a responsibility for what I publish and what I put out there. And so that comes with a degree of responsibility. And so, like, some of the responsibility and accountability I have is actually before the whatever interaction I have with anybody. So if I'm going to talk about a topic, it's my responsibility to be accountable for knowing what the fuck I'm talking about or whatever I'm bringing forward I've actually looked into to a degree. Or if something comes up that I'm not familiar with, I go, I'm not familiar with this. Let's go look. Or we're not going to talk about that right now.
Exactly. You don't just bullshit there. Yeah.
Yeah. I guess that's a little bit of C as well, though, right? A little bit of clarity because I'm clarifying that I don't know.
If you don't have some bullshit in you, that people are so used to hearing shite, you're switched off, frustrated. Your mic is off. Sometimes people are so used to hearing bullshit. When you talk straight, they kind of get scared.
Yeah.
Have you seen that happen? You can see it in their eyes. And like, wait a minute, I can't use my automated response system.
I get this look because people do not know, but lots of people in my real life, and I think probably online it happens as well, people don't know when I'm being serious and when I'm kidding.
Yeah, I get that too.
I'm so used to that kind of like humor though at a machine shop where it's deadpan and like yelling, but not. It's so fun. But,
it's a good time.
It's good times.
All right, what's the next one? Or sorry, you got more.
Tying off this, because you mentioned bullshit, a really good little tiny book by I don't know his first name. Frankfurt is the last name, I think, right? It's on bullshit. It's a tiny little.
I've got that. I read that.
It's a sinister book.
Yeah, it's fun though.
Yeah.
What's it called?
On bullshit.
On bullshit.
On bullshit. Okay.
You read the whole thing like in an hour.
Yep, but the message is very clear. When people get so used to it, they start being apathetic towards it, and that's terrifying. So
there's something about being earnest that I think scares people, and particularly online. And I think that mostly is related to people having an online persona that is separate from themselves. And so those degrees of separation give people maybe undue confidence. And then when that starts cracking, that mask starts cracking and starts getting exposed, people get freaked out because they don't like, being vulnerable.
Yeah.
Moshi in the chat said, who wrote a book on Chesh's life? For On Bullshit. Brother, me and Barry were talking about like my personal life before anybody else got in here. And he was just like, what the fuck? I don't know.
So then
go ahead.
We can go back to revisability. So revisability is like, we talked about owning up to your mistakes or your triumphs too, but like being able to change, having the willingness to change if you're wrong or if you're like not fully right, that's what revisability allows for your personal philosophy or your ideas in and of themselves. So
I like that one because I think it weaves in flexibility, which isn't really in the other ones. And weaving in flexibility, I think, is important because you don't know. You can't know what you don't know. So
per Pierce, we're fallible creatures. So
here we go.
I had
There
to
we
add that
go.
in there for Barry.
Yeah, thanks very much.
He
Yeah.
can scratch his bingo card there.
I like Perce a lot, actually. I do like him a lot. I just like trolling Opie. I like Perce.
No.
I'm not gonna lie, Perce is great. I will hand that to you.
Should call it Welby, Victoria Welby. She's a British lady, like a proper lady. Like had a a court.
She drinks her tea properly. Yeah.
Yeah, but also had like a court, lady, title to her. What is it?
She's a British lady.
She was a pen pal of Pierce, but also would like share Wittgenstein to Pierce and Pierce to Wittgenstein a lot. So
she's the nexus.
Barry would be so pissed if we didn't have the internet and we were all pen pals. He would be sending us back, he would be sending us back our own letters with like sassy remarks written in underneath everything. You shithead. Fuck
Dear
you.
frustrated. That's not how you spell accommodation.
Just red pen.
My dearest Barry,
Welby
that
was,
is today.
Welby was Frank Ramsey's like best friend also. And,
Oh, okay. So she would have known Wittgenstein.
Yeah.
So I think revisability is probably one of the most straightforward ones. It's just about being able to be flexible and changing your work, or even maybe changing the way you communicate your work to other people.
Because, well, you got to be flexible, because even if you have the ideal approach that's 100% perfect, everything around you is going to change.
Yeah.
So you got to stay flexible.
Speaking of revisability, I'm going to have to be revisable here because of the fact that I'd forgotten that my nephew's birthday party is today.
You son of a bitch!
I know.
Well, happy birthday!
So my sister is
How dare you schedule your nephew's birth on top of my stream?
Right?
Asshole.
How dare I?
Dear frustrated atheist, how dare you?
It's just, who dost thou thinketh you are?
All right, get out of here. Tell your nephew happy birthday from everybody.
Yes, we'll do. And all of y'all out there, y'all have fun.
Bye.
Bye.
We don't get a frozen face.
God, I thought he'd never leave.
Yeah, Jesus Christ.
Holy
Wait,
shit.
hold on. I gotta fix my camera so we're all the same. There we go.
No, it's the anti-dogmatic virtue on there,
Yeah.
You have to be able to
selling a religion, right?
Yeah. That can be a downward spiral into problems, so.
Even when you're selling a religion, you got to be flexible, though, because those people change their minds all the time.
I know, right? Well, like sermons, if you ever go to an actual mass, like they adapt the entire lesson to fit real world situations.
Yeah,
it's kind of nuts. So
it's
yeah,
weird, right?
Well, there's they'll adapt it, but also like even if you listen to the same pastor telling the same. So, like preaching the same sermon that they wrote like 2 years ago, it's going to be different than the one that.
Or like Ramadan, where you're not allowed to eat anything during the daylight hours.
Mm-hmm.
But as soon as the sun hits the ground, nom nom nom, right?
Yes.
Well, if Ramadan hits at a certain time, right? Yeah, that's Muslims. That's you. That's a bit Islamophobic, Josh. There's no need for that. In certain parts of the world, like say at the top, like Finland and those places, there will be certain times of the year when daylight is 24 hours a day.
Yeah,
because in the real world, I guess for Muslims, I don't know, but in the real world, I guess whoever wrote the Quran didn't really factor in Finland, right? So what they for Muslims, of course, God wrote that book. But the Council of Muslims or whoever like makes these decisions, I guess a bunch of muftis, I guess, said no, just call it like 10 o'clock in the night there, if you like,
Yeah.
Even though it says in the Quran, it's very, very specific, and that's like hard, fast rules that you're not allowed to reinterpret.
Just the fact that there's so many sects of Christianity tells you that.
They also said if you're diabetic, you don't have to do Ramadan if you're diabetic
or pregnant.
Well, I think that's in the Quran.
Okay.
But or not in the Quran, certainly in some of the things, but there's no diabetes in the Quran.
Oh no, you're right.
So they just kind of adapt, and even people you would regard as maybe hardline kind of whatever, they still have to say, well, look, I'm pretty sure Allah does not want you to starve to death just because you happen to live in Finland, and I'm pretty sure Allah does not want your legs to have to be cut off just because you have diabetes. Mm-hmm. Like that doesn't tally with the Allah we know. So 10 o'clock, call it nighttime, and if you have diabetes, you eat, I guess, as little as possible. for whatever you can. But that's another example of
It's like
this
blood
thing.
transfusions too, right?
Yeah,
And
so
why,
even like religion, even religious dogmas have to be flexible at the end of the day. Like when you're
they
finished.
usually have to be forced. That's like the main difference, right? Is like stuff like that
Mm.
tends to be forced over a long period of time with enough social change, as opposed to like what Oppie is suggesting is
I
more
admire
of,
the courageous individual who wants to force hardline Muslims to do anything, but good luck with that.
well, I mean, they have their own social changes. There's a difference between having an outside force trying to make you do something and an internal one.
Yeah.
So like an internal social shift or an internal social amount of information. Like if you move to Finland, that is definitively a social shift, right? As well as a physical one. So, and that is something that like many years ago, not something that Muslims at the time period would have had access to. So they're adapting to a new situation. So, which is not
wouldn't expect that from Muslims. Westerns would expect something else from what they
Muslims.
understand of Islam.
Well, Westerns are racist. Then who gives a shit? Anyway,
Yeah, cool.
the thing is like if you have an internal social shift, that internal social shift is going to force the theocracy in some cases to adapt and change, and we're seeing some of that happening now, particularly with what's from a geopolitical standpoint going on in the Middle East. But even besides that, an external force is going to have a lot harder of a time. Like, look at the way Canada handles North Korea. Canada handles North Korea by airdropping USB sticks with episodes of fucking Seinfeld on it.
Brilliant.
To break the ideas, to socially break the illusion of like what the United States is in North Korea. So it's more of a social fight or a way to socially kind of enforce and cause an internal change as opposed to an external pressure. So like what Opie's talking about is having that revisionism and that flexibility built in initially, so you avoid those kinds of dogmatic things having to be forced as aggressively or as problematically. Because most social change doesn't happen, like major social change doesn't happen without some kind of violence.
Now I'm trying to figure out what Seinfeld would sound like in Korean.
I don't know if it's in Korean. I think it might be in English, but they subtitle it.
Oh, no. In my mind, he's speaking Korean.
I like that idea. What does Jerry Seinfeld and Kramer sound like in Korean, North Korean? Comes in the door. I don't know.
For you.
It's soup Nazi. Okay, but how does that sound? This is your thing. Again, we're talking about something that this is something that Opie has designed and worked through and sort of published. Have you published it anywhere, really?
No, I'm still. It's gonna be eventually, but
one day.
One day. This is a very tiny piece of everything that I've been working on. So, bigger part is the big four operational criteria I've shared before in the past. So that's what the fourth one, E, is basically just those wrapped up into a package. But to talk about it in English terms, it would be like your internal concern for the truth, that ethics. Integrity. Yeah, your ethics towards truth specifically. Okay. Your compass is going towards that rather than any other. Like, yes, we have moral compasses and they will override at times, obviously. But for certain things like science or like in terms of arguments and stuff like that, having a compass towards truth is important for this. So
Smitty killed me in the side chat. Do you guys see what he said?
Nope.
He said a tiny piece of his magnum opus.
Oh, nice.
Oh my god, that's good.
That's good. You should title it that and publish it that.
No, mine has to do with paleoneurobiology and evolutionary epistemology, so that's fun.
So I guess ethics comes down to, do you think that like within your framework you need to use a specific ethical chain, or is that flexible as well?
Well, there's the four operational criteria, which is for science specifically, it's predictive precision and accuracy is the first one. explanatory efficiency and consilience is the second one. The third one is flexibility to falsification or recontextualization. It's kind of like revised. Notice that these four also seem like the other four, basically. And then the fourth one is coherence. So, having it rationally coherent.
There's also a great movie, Coherence.
Yes, it is. But yeah, no, those are the four big criteria for science. But then when you want to talk about them, then I have C.A.R.E for discussing science. So there's a difference.
Sorry, go ahead.
There's a difference between doing science and talking about science in my framework. So
yeah, I mean, I think I think doing science and talking about science, like science communication, seems to me to be its own field.
Yeah. So
and like
also,
not all scientists are good at it.
We have the same issue we had at the start, I guess, is that the worst person you know, probably thinks his ethics are just fine.
Yeah, I mean, I think
Hitler's not going to wake up in the morning and say, "Jesus, my ethics are terrible." Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, no, exactly. I feel like the people who are intentionally behaving, like Hitler, for example, people who are intentionally behaving this way have already considered the ethical framework. The problem isn't the people.
Hitler was doing a favor. Hitler was doing the right thing,
right,
in his mind.
Yeah, but he took the time.
In his mind.
But he took the time to think through exactly what he was doing and why. I think the bigger problem isn't that there are bad people who have thought through what they're doing and that they think that they're right. There's not enough people who have thought about it at all.
Okay.
Yeah.
Because I think you would have far less, like, people who have who you disagree with, like, in retrospect. Like, we all disagree with Hitler in retrospect, but do we all disagree with Hitler if we were there? And all we have to do is look at the United States right now and see that there are way more people that agree with Donald Trump than you would think that there would be, because the majority of them haven't actually thought through the implications and what the hell is going on, right?
I'm convinced Stalin thought he was maybe the morally best person in Russia.
Oh, probably.
That's the issue with whenever we stray away from any of these, the epistemic integrity, like the big four, we end up with Lysenkoism, which is where we supplant our ability to understand the world with our own personal ideas of what the world is.
So I'm going to need you to spell that word for me.
Lysenkoism, Lysenkoism. ISM. Yes.
I put it in the chat.
Okay, so Trofim Lysenko was a Ukrainian agricultural scientist, basically, and he deemed that genetics and evolution were a bourgeois construct. So he had his own ideas for how evolution worked, and it was more communal based. But that ended up resulting in a famine in Ukraine that killed like 14 million people. Yeah. So
he's the Holomotor, that guy.
Basically, but even Stalin thought he was a little nuts too. But
yeah, but Stalin thinks you're nuts. That's a good sign usually.
Yeah. So it's the other examples are like the Challenger shuttle crash. What?
I said never use one measuring stick.
Oh yes. Another example would be the Challenger shuttle crash. Like whenever you set aside what's epistemically right, like the O-rings are not going to function properly at this temperature, but you replace that with you're messing with my flight schedule, like you get disasters happening left and right. And we're probably going to face one soon with how vaccines are being treated recently. So
yeah. There's a big difference between like when your intention versus the result, like the consequences of your action. If you take your intention and you impose that as if that will be the consequence without actually looking at the reality of what the consequence will be or can be, then you're gonna run into problems. Because what is the saying? The road to hell? What you intend doesn't matter. What actually matters is the result of what you did.
Mm-hmm.
It's great that you didn't mean to kill somebody, but you pointed your gun at them, and you didn't know whether it was loaded or not.
I didn't know the gun was loaded.
I don't know. I feel like Al Baldwin has fired enough guns to know what a loaded one is.
You shouldn't
looks like.
point a gun at anybody anyway,
Exactly.
unless
That's
you
the other
intend to
reason,
kill
too.
them.
Yeah.
I promise you, it's full of blanks, and we're making a movie. Everything's fine.
Yeah. There's
Even blanks are deadly. I mean, look at
but point blank range.
Brandon Lee.
Yeah.
Well, Brandon Lee died from them too. So.
He did. He was too close to it.
There's a lot of things that I don't value people's intentions. It's like crying over spilt milk. It's like, it's great that you didn't mean to spill the milk, but now I am covered in milk.
That's why you have to combine all three. I mean, all four of these.
I think there's a value in intentions.
There's a value. I just don't value it very highly. Personally. That's a personal thing. I'm not, by the way, I'm not saying that anybody else should think this way. I'm just an asshole. I'm just a jaded, cynical piece of shit.
Like, I think in a murder trial, they will ask you why you killed the guy, you know?
Sure, yeah. Yeah, but that's about convincing a jury.
Yeah, and it's still going to make a difference. Like, otherwise they wouldn't bother, even though the guy is just as dead regardless.
Yeah, it's supposed to, because there's no such thing as absolute doubt. It's just reasonable doubt.
Well, it's not about convincing a jury. It's about deciding whether it's murder 1, 2, or manslaughter, etc., etc.
Yeah.
Yeah, if the gloves don't fit, you can't acquit, or whatever the fuck.
Yeah, no, I get that. But, like, it's not just about that.
No, I think intentions, I think people care about intentions.
Yeah, and also the law code.
I assume good intentions usually with people until proven otherwise.
Yeah, me too. It's easier. It's less exhausting. I just assume everybody's
I think if you don't assume that to a degree, if you
it's only picked me in the ass a few times. It's actually
paranoia.
It's not about just telling truth, but being truthful, being having care for truth. You know, being all four of those things at the same time. So
I just don't tend to care. I just don't put a lot of effort into assuming people's intentions at all because I just don't give a shit.
Fair enough.
It's not worth my time.
You have to decide where they land, or you won't be able to discuss anything with them.
No, I don't. I don't have to know what somebody's intention is with me to have a conversation with them.
The specific intention.
Sorry, go, Opie.
I mean, the specific intentions, no. But if the intention is that they're caring about truth or not caring about truth, then that's like what you have to evaluate at least.
I would have a very different conversation with somebody I suspected strongly was operating in bad faith than I would with somebody who I knew was operating in good faith, even if they were asking me the same question.
I don't tend to operate any differently. No, because like if I'm going out of my way to have a conversation with somebody that I know is being dishonest, I'm still going to ask them questions earnestly. Because that's the only way to get anywhere.
No, it's a waste of my time. If they're in
I think
bad
it depends I guess it depends on your intention at that point. Why are you talking to this dishonest person that hates you?
Well, I didn't know that at the time. But 2 years ago,
you just said if you knew they were being dishonest.
No, if there's no point in talking really to dishonest people usually.
I disagree. I think there's lots of value in talking
I know
to dishonest people.
I know you've dealt with a lot of them. I see it all the time with this other Rev person that I confuse with Rev Infidel because they're both Rev to me, and that's like.
Yeah, who are we talking about? What's going on? There's too many people with the same name. I think like it depends on your intention. If you're talking about like I know people who are dishonest about a subject but are earnest people. Right? So I'm going into this conversation and I know the person that I'm talking to is going to be dishonest. And it's not because they really have an intention of deceiving me. It's that they're lying to themselves more than anything else. They haven't done the research. I know they haven't done the work. They're just repeating something, like they're repeating propaganda.
Yes.
So I know they're dishonest. But I know that they're an honest person, and they're not really intending on doing anything bad, even though we know the result is going to be bad.
I don't think that would be counting as a dishonest person.
If they're willing to lie to push the propaganda in the conversation because they would rather be right, they're being dishonest.
Oh, well then yes. Yeah.
Yeah. So if I know this going into the conversation, is there value in the conversation? I think so.
I don't have that kind of time, man. I mean, I have to live my life.
Yeah, that's fair. Like, you don't have to. I'm not going to tell you you're wrong. There's no wrong answer to this. I don't think. I think it just depends.
If someone was paying me, then yeah. If I was earning something from it, or there was some point to it, then yeah, maybe.
Or if it was like maybe a personal relationship.
Maybe, yeah.
I think it depends. I just don't. I find that the majority of times I do not tend to care what the person's intention is in the conversation because I know what my intention is.
Yeah, no, it
And-
matters to me. Like if I made this, I wrote once a thing about how to talk to fascists, and a big problem that people have is having discussions with these people is they are coming at it from a different set of assumptions. Like your victory condition is to share ideas and maybe learn something about where they're coming from and so on. Their victory condition is to be positioned as the other side in a debate with
In
you.
a legitimate way, yeah.
Yeah. So as soon as you say anything for any reason, regardless of what intentions you have or you don't have, they have won. They have achieved their victory condition, and they will be laughing about you with their friends later on.
It's like
And
the
it doesn't matter what you
conversation
say or
with-
how you say it.
It's like Ken Ham versus Bill Nye, legitimizing.
Yeah, it doesn't
spending
matter.
too much time legitimizing Ken
And-
Ham
Yeah.
and not
You
enough.
can see the sophistry in the arguments too.
Yeah.
Specifically, let's give an example for that Ken Ham versus Bill Nye. There's a part of it where he just basically dabbles into underdetermination, where it's the same evidence but different worldview and stuff like that.
Yeah.
But we've been dealing with this for like that's nothing new under the sun for philosophy of science. Like there's a reason. Like we've just but we've shown like even in the 1700s, that the world is much older than
Well,
6,000 years.
there's also a difference between having a publicized debate with like big names, like something that is huge and out there, or even like just this conversation versus like a personal conversation or an individual, like a more individual 1 to 5 people in a Twitter thread. Right? These are all such different variables that I personally just like to be consistent. I tend to just take at face value what's getting thrown at me.
It's
in a
easier to be
discussion,
consistent.
right?
It's easier to be consistent because if you have to keep track of all of the different inconsistencies of yourself, you're just going to eventually make a mistake. So
The only thing that I'm really going to change is my tonality. Right? Maybe I'm going to change some of the words I'm going to use based on like how or who I'm trying to communicate with. Like right now, we're all purposefully going out of our way to not use jargon. If we weren't purposefully going out of the way, we would still be having the same conversation, but there might be different, bigger words getting thrown around. So it doesn't really change anything. All it does is make the conversation accessible.
From the conversation that brought you neuropaleontology and,
yes,
this
evolutionary
motherfucker,
epistemology.
This guy calling him out. But, like, I don't, like, if I'm going to talk to you, so, like, you guys know that there are a ton of dishonest people that fucking hate me. If one of them were to come on the stream, I wouldn't talk to them any differently than the way I'm talking to you guys right now, because they've come on. So now I'm like, all right, we're going to talk about this. You clearly have agreed to this conversation, so we're going to sit here and we're going to fucking talk about it.
Oh, and how you treat them? Yeah, exactly. Yeah, no, that's fair. Yeah.
So their intention to like come on and embarrass me changes nothing about the way I engage.
It might change something, but I get what you mean though. I'm trying to figure out.
No, if you guys started being dicks and lying to me, you'd get the exact same kind of responses, right? Like it's That's just the way I do things, though. I don't think everybody does things the way I do things. That's just the way I do things. How do you guys do it?
I don't like the idea of engaging with people who are definitely acting in bad faith as if they were not that. And I don't think that's inconsistent with how I generally do things.
No. I find it like if I'm trying to come to the table with earnesty there, with my ideas, and you're not going to treat them with the same respect that I do, and you're not going to treat my ideas the same respect I respect yours coming into it, then I don't feel like it's fruitful for me.
And this is why I think like it matters when I say that I don't care what their intention is, even if I know what it is. So instead of treating them as if they have good intentions or bad intentions, I just ignore it entirely. So, like your guys' intentions of coming on to the stream today don't really matter to me.
Well, thanks for that.
You know what I mean? What do you mean, thanks for that? What the fuck? Should your intentions matter to me? Why?
I'll just add you to the list, a very long list of people, who just don't give a shit about my intentions.
Imagine
Listen,
if
Barry,
we were just-
Barry, you're the only person allowed to kill me. I give you permission.
Well, I get it. Like you're gonna have us on here even if we're bullshitting or not. So.
Well, because that's fine. Bullshit me.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
Yeah,
Like,
no, that's what I mean. Like, but
yeah.
even if we're not, yeah, I see what you mean.
If you guys started bullshitting, we would be having a conversation about how successful you may or may not be at bullshitting. Right?
Exactly.
Like, that's fine.
No,
Narcissist and psycho.
I see your point there. Yeah.
I just don't
No,
like.
I
I'm
get
okay
your
with being
point, yeah.
wrong.
And if I didn't have other things going on in my life, I probably would be doing that as well. But I can't. If I see somebody's acting in bad faith, I'm like, okay, this is not going to help anything. We're not going to advance anybody's understanding of anything. It's a
Yeah.
waste of everybody's time, including mine. That's all.
Well, that's just a matter of picking your battle.
A matter of. Say again.
I said it's a matter of picking your battles.
Yeah,
I'm not saying like I do this with every single person. I don't waste my time on
No.
every single fucking dishonest conversation that fucking comes my way. That would be a
there's some
massive
people that are-
waste of time.
So propagandally, like captured by propaganda that it's not even funny. You know.
Yeah, I mean, it depends. Like, are you going to go around and argue with every single Trump supporter on Twitter? No. No, who's got the time for that? Fuck.
They come to my house, Chesh.
Do you
In
have
Ireland?
do you have the gun laws there that let you shoot people on your
No, they're in my
Trespassing
family.
on your
No,
property?
that's only my country now, guys.
We gotta get Opie out. Out! We gotta get you out! Transfer schools.
I have people in my family who talk to me about these things, and I don't know. I mean,
Oh yeah,
just stop.
that's normal.
Yeah, I don't like it.
To be fair, to be clear, this doesn't mean that I don't have my own judgments on people and that I don't know
Oh,
what their intentions are. I just compartmentalize that and put it to the side
Yeah.
if I'm having a conversation with people because it's not.
I have these people who are telling me the lovely two things, what Sigmund Freud called kettle logic. On the one hand, it's definitely not a genocide, and on the other hand, they deserve it.
What?
So,
Mm.
Yeah,
Sigmund Freud called it kettle logic.
it's
see.
everybody. A lot of things, the atrocities are happening. It's like it's not happening, and if it is, it's a good thing. It's
There you go.
very
I
common.
did have
kettle
somebody
logic.
try to tell me that it's not a genocide because it's not successful, and I was like, we do not measure whether or not something is a genocide based on how successful it was.
Let me introduce you to this Holocaust survivor. And then
Yeah.
you can tell him it's not a genocide because he's still alive.
Or putting it to like what is it, a calculus to it, you know?
Well,
How many-
sometimes you have to
yeah.
because otherwise there has to be some calculus involved.
Yes, but reducing it like, oh, the ratio is.
Oh yeah, no. And also, ironically, the intention is apparently very important.
It's like the idea of like how many dead bodies are you willing to get in a pool with? And there's
Like in
there's an
impossible-
actual number of and like an amount of water that people find acceptable.
When Serbia invaded Kosovo in 1999, the prime minister, well, the vice prime, how do you call the deputy prime minister, came on television and said, "There will be no more Albanians in Kosovo."
Which that
Now,
was
normally that would be. Now, by the way, these Serbians are so fucking shifty that when they were talking to Serbian audience, they would call them Albanians, and when they were talking to Western
Mm.
audiences like where I am, they call them Muslims.
Ah, clever. That
because
is
he was talking
that
to
is
other-
clever.
He's very clever because he was talking to other Serbians. He said, "There will be no more Albanians left in Kosovo," and that to me is a statement of intent. And the
I need
guys
to
in
send. I need to send you guys Sir Skeptic's video, where he makes a really good case for a genocide taking place in the United States right now.
against whom?
Trans people, LGBTQ.
Oh,
Mm.
okay.
Yeah,
Well,
it's
there's been
really
statements of
interesting.
intent.
Oh, yeah.
Laws. Oh, Trump seems to be creating an entirely new class of
Yes.
rights for trans people.
Yeah.
And the Second Amendment doesn't apply to them.
Yep.
The Fourth Amendment won't apply to them.
Which-
And whatever next? What next?
Yeah.
During wartime, will they be forced to have soldiers at their house? Does the Third Amendment not apply to them anymore?
Yep. I'll send you guys the video. It's it's very well done. It was very convincing.
Please do. Yeah, I'd like to see
so
that.
I'll-
I'm sick
I'll
of trans
send
people
that.
getting fucked around.
Yeah.
I mean, just leave them alone, you know.
Yeah. But it's like there's things like that. There are times when I'm not trying to say that intent never matters. I just think that
Yeah, no.
when it comes
didn't-
to
Look at the question in
discussing-
the chat. Is it
Yeah.
not just answer the intrigued feline question? That's a good question.
and is it not just happening to trans people or other LGBTQ plus? It's LGBTQ plus, but the focus is on trans people first. So it's like we come for you first, and then down the line. So it is going for like they're trying to get rid of like gay marriage and stuff like that. And
it's not. It doesn't stop there, and it won't. So.
Yeah, I mean, we already know that Trump is targeting political opponents. We know that he's targeting anybody who's foreign.
Imagine thinking the trans people are like a danger. Like, what the fuck? Do you know any trans people? They're the most harmless bunch of bastards.
I have a theory about that, but I think that's a conversation for another day.
Oh my
Maybe
God.
not this show. Maybe a different show.
And I say that to people who don't like Muslims either. Do you know any Muslim? Make some Muslim friends. I swear to God, the only danger you'll be in is that they will force you to eat their food if you step inside their house. That's it. That's the danger.
Yeah.
You know?
I like food.
I don't like falafel. Eat it! Okay, Jesus Christ, man. You Arabs are crazy.
I like food.
There's a good song by Daft Punk called Face to Face that people should
Funny when we find out face to face.
Yeah. So
let me find Cyrus's video so I can post it for everybody.
And of course, in addition to the Daft Punk song, there's a Simpsons episode where John Waters only has to. He's hanging around with Bart. You know, John Waters, the gayest man in the United States. He was hanging out with Bart Simpson for like a week, and Bart starts going gay, right? And his dad's all worried, and it realizes it's just a bunch of affectation. It doesn't mean anything about his sexuality, you know. So eventually, Homer's okay with John Waters, and at the very end of the episode, John Waters is driving away in his car. He says, all I have to do is stay with every home in America for a week.
My God.
It's the same thing as the Daft Punk song, right?
Yeah.
I think one of the bigger issues. Sorry, back to your CARE thing. One of the thing with ethics is that you'd have to actually research and choose your ethics versus like social ethics versus like. You're talking about discussing science.
This is just but also this is just an ethics towards truth. It's an epistemic ethics. You know. That's the problem with it, is that this compass is just towards truth. So you can you have to develop your own moral compasses on what's right and good and what's and then your aesthetic ones for what's beautiful or ugly, you know. So
these people who have demonstrably stupid opinions they think they're oriented towards the truth. They think they're more oriented to the truth than me when I'm saying you are wrong and here's why.
Yeah.
Like Graham Linehan in the court. He thinks he's 100%. He was in court yesterday, and he thinks he's 100% right. And everybody's he's sticking to his guns because he's the only one who knows that men shouldn't be in women's spaces. And we shouldn't be letting men wear dresses and abuse women in the toilets or whatever he thinks is happening.
The way you deal with that, though, is you get them to like explain. Right, and usually what you'll find is massive inconsistencies or things that they can't justify in any real or significant way that makes any fucking goddamn sense. So, like, a lot of people
never
who
see
are...
it that way.
Yeah, but you don't have to necessarily convince them. When somebody has a bad idea...
Yeah, but are we talking about the CARE?
Well, using CARE should... especially the E part, where you start using the big four, you'll eventually find something that's factually like not just like inconsistent with their beliefs, but like just factually wrong, you know.
Yeah, of course.
That's the wedge to get, to thrust in.
No, that's been discredited by this fucking way out scientist I found working out of a university nobody's ever heard of before.
Yeah, and that's where you get then you get science doing science's job, which is self-policing.
It's like, if you don't like black people, you will find a black person somewhere who also doesn't like black people, and you can say, "Look, I'm just listening to this black guy."
Right. And then you go to the next.
You know what I mean by that,
Opie,
when I say,
I think you're not wrong.
Oh, yeah, okay.
Because I've had conversations with people like this, and there are black people who are happy to come on screen and say shit about black people.
Oh yeah, it's stupid. So
yeah. And then right-wing asshats say, "Oh, this black person said blah blah blah,"
like those Hodgkin twins, right?
I don't know who you're talking.
But it's these two twin guys, conservatives, that are constantly do that. Basically, they're like they find stuff on the internet to show.
Oh, okay.
That stuff, yeah.
That's
Okay,
where
yeah,
you
fair
start
enough.
deciding who is worth having a conversation with. And this is what I mean by the dangerous thing isn't the person, it's not the person espousing the bad idea that's really the dangerous thing. It matters how much power that person has. And the reason that person has power is because they're convincing people. And the way they're convincing people or why they're convincing to people is because these people haven't done the work themselves. So they're just getting led by the nose everywhere. More people doing the work for their own personal philosophies and trying to do things like C.A.R.E and trying to learn about like argumentation and understanding their own like ethics is paramount to avoiding bad people with bad intentions doing bad things and convincing people to go along with bad things, i.e. your MAGA crowd. Right? Most MAGA people, or people who voted for Trump, if you sit them down and talk to them in an isolated scenario, you can convince them that they're wrong about things or change their mind about stuff. But you have to know what you're talking about.
Well, I don't.
Yeah, not knowing what you're
most
talking
of them
about.
are just as dejected and disappointed in how the government is run, but they've chosen a different solution for it that's not going to end up the correct direction,
Right. You don't light the house on fire while you're still in it.
Mm-hmm.
And here's Opie to tell us what the correct direction is.
I don't know what it is.
He's the only American. He's the only one in the United States. He's the only one qualified.
No, I know, but I don't know what it is. But I know people are just about in all of our countries are dissatisfied with how it's being run. So
I think that's a valid complaint. I think it's a valid complaint to be dissatisfied with your government. It's just a matter of if you're dissatisfied with your government, you should probably do a little bit of work to understand why. And if you're not willing to even do a little bit of work to understand what your complaint even is in the first place, you're gonna pick the wrong direction. Why? Because some scammer is gonna come along and tell you they have the solutions to all your problems.
Or don't even listen to the people telling you what those problems are if they're politicians too, specifically.
Yeah, come by your problems earnestly. Come by them yourself. Yeah. Don't buy what people are selling you.
I have my own problems.
Or at least if somebody's going to tell you what the problem is, take the time to listen to what they're saying. You have any idea how much people are convinced by somebody because they're not actually listening to what the person is actually saying? It's too high. The number's too damn high. I'm so mad.
Can we have him back? No, I think he's too old now. The rent is too damn high guy.
Yeah, the rent is too damn high.
I think he's in his 80s by now.
Who is he? Yeah, I don't really know much about that guy. I know he had an epic beard.
New York mayor for once and didn't succeed.
Little gloves and everything. Yeah.
I'm still trying to find the video from C.A.R.E. Yeah. Yeah. It's because I can't really search it because I don't think he actually used the word genocide in the video title because
that's smart.
You can't. Algorithm. Yeah, because are you trying to kill your fucking channel? Yeah.
What it said frustrated atheist said we didn't answer his question, but I don't know what question he's talking about. In chat.
Why is he listening? He should be at his nephew's birthday party.
Yeah, what are you doing? Get out of here.
Tell us what the question is, man. Just type it in the chat and Opie will do his best.
I heard someone make an incredibly ridiculous take. I asked him, quote, "Did you go to clown college for that goofy ass take? Where does that fall in the C.A.R.E model?"
I don't know. That's just that sounded like just a rhetorical question. So,
so give them a rhetorical answer.
Yeah.
Get fucked.
I think it falls somewhere in the communication about clarifying.
Oh. Yeah.
That's where I think it falls.
And that takes us back to C.
Mm-hmm.
I think that there's something that I find interesting is when people are communicating and they go into ad hominem territory and lining between which one is an ad hom and which one is just insulting, or they're just using they're just insulting as an excuse to not address the argument. So they're not saying you're wrong because you're stupid. They're saying you're wrong and you're stupid, or they're just saying you're stupid, you're stupid, you're stupid, you're stupid, which is just so you're not even like bothering to try to deal with the argument. So it's not quite an ad hominem, but it is like a method of stonewalling communication.
He said, where do I fall into Opie? That's what he said. That's his question. Where do I fall into Opie?
Oh, that doesn't seem like it has to do with anything with C.A.R.E. That's just, I mean, we throw insults all the time just to get a certain chemical reaction out of them to not reason correctly afterwards. It's a distraction, you know. So maybe you're doing it. You're not being. Yeah, it's probably the C part right there specifically.
Well,
insults are rhetorical
without insulting people.
Insults are a rhetorical tool.
Yeah, but you can ad hominem without insulting people.
But you're not being. You're doing things that are not clear to your own argument by doing that. You know.
Yeah. You're doing the opposite. You're obfuscating.
Yeah.
Well, I think there's a difference between, like, it depends on how you're presenting your argument. I think there can be insults woven within your argument, but it doesn't really help your argument in and of itself, but it might help communicate your argument to other people.
I guess in this example provided, though, it wasn't. It was just an insult. But I agree, Josh.
And calling somebody like names and so on, insulting somebody is not necessarily ad hominem either.
Correct.
No.
Unless you're trying to establish a pattern.
I'm trying to establish dominance.
Yeah.
T-pose.
But
Yeah, I can't find it. I'll find it later.
Well, the best
I'll
insult you can give somebody in science is saying that they're not even wrong.
Oh, that's Wolfgang Pauli.
Yeah, it's
Nicht einmal falsch.
It's
Du bist
so
nicht einmal falsch. Oh, it's brilliant. I've deployed it.
So devastating.
It's very powerful, yeah.
Well,
yeah,
we
you have so
are.
much work to do before you're wrong. You have a lot of work to do.
Yeah. It's.
I love it. And he was right, by the way, when he said that. He was correct.
Does C.A.R.E. fall under Occam's razor? Do you think?
Well, the razor is in the Big Four with parsimony specifically. That's in the explanatory efficiency. But then you have to add it with consilience, which is, well, E.O. Wilson, but also what is his name? Wieland. I'll look up the original consilience person. But it has to do with not only do you have to have like simple a simple explanation, but also have all of your explanations kind of like networking together. So in a way, it's
they have to be related.
Yeah. So like paleontology is related to both biology and geology. So that's why it's like efficient there, you know.
I got Dapper so good the other day. I was getting him to, he was in a cycle of agreeing with something that I was saying because I was repeating back to him what he was saying. And I was like, well, and then I worked in that paleontology is just history. And he was like, yeah, wait, no. Because I keep telling him that history is the study of things that happen.
Here's the best part. Physics is just the natural history of repeating patterns.
Yeah.
So physics is paleontology.
This is why I keep saying that everything is actually one thing.
Go through all the letters stand for again. 1, 2, 3, 4.
Oh, yeah. C is clarity. A is accountability. R is revisability. And E is epistemic integrity.
Are you putting them in the chat like a baller?
Well, I'm typing.
You do know they're in the description, right?
I'm not on YouTube. I only have the chat popped out separately. If I watch the YouTube, I'll get everything on a delay of half a second, and it really disorients me.
Oh, yeah,
I don't watch chat. They can insult me all they want.
Taking care of chat is my job. But we are past our hour mark. We did go a little bit long, but we did have technical issues, so that's fair and reasonable. So we should start wrapping up. I like it. If you guys have any criticisms or things that you want to throw out and ask questions about, this is Opie's brainchild. So
ask him.
It's still in its infancy, so yeah.
Yeah, so it's still it's flexible, right?
Yes.
And he'll be accountable for it.
And it's clear.
Yeah.
I hope so.
Ask him on Twitter. He will answer you.
Yeah. You're pretty active over
there.
there.
Less people are talking to me on there, but yeah.
You can also ask him on Blue Sky.
Right now, the only way I can get anything out of Opie is if I post something about my cat.
Oh, yeah.
We have a really good one set up for next month. I have something planned for you
nice.
guys.
You're not
I'm
going to say it in advance.
I'm not gonna tell you what it is, but it is like clickbaity algorithm-y.
Brilliant.
Ooh, interesting.
Yeah, you're gonna have a good time.
By the way, I think we started in September last year, right? So this
How
is
long
our
have we been on this
anniversary.
show?
Oh my
For a
god,
year.
has it been a year?
It's been a year.
Wow.
Wow. We did miss
Yeah.
2. We should have only missed 1. We missed 2. That was my fault.
We missed 3.
We missed 3?
We missed 2 last.
You were sick, and then you had a
Yeah.
vacation.
Yes.
And then before, a few months ago, we missed another one.
Did we miss 1? I'm gonna say that's pretty good.
Yeah, we
9
did well.
out of 12?
Yeah, we did May. We just didn't do June and July.
Okay.
We rock! High fives!
Yeah.
Thanks everybody for joining us. Hopefully you've learned something. If you learned something, let us know.
If you have any questions about anything I've said here, just keep them to yourself, man. I don't know anything.
If you have questions, explicitly go to Barry.
I'm on Twitter, but like, I don't know if you're going to get any sense out of me. I'll probably just make a stupid joke.
We should leave. Goodbye! Goodbye,
Bye.
everybody! Goodbye! So long! Goodbye! Bye! Goodbye now. Bye-bye now. Bye-bye. Bye-bye.
You've probably had a question that you have thought about throughout your entire life, whether it be like, what, where am I going in life? What am I going to do with the rest of my life? That is a philosophical question, regardless if you're just wanting to know what kind of job you're going to do or whatever. It's still a philosophical question.
I'd say life is a choose your own adventure book. And what philosophy does is it does that thing where you say, you know, you can go to page 20 if this happens, or go to page 80 if this happens. And on page 80, it just says you die. You know, you're playing those games and you just skip that bit and you don't go to page 80, you decide to go to page 20 after all. That's what philosophy can do for you.
One key trait about philosophy is that there's like unresolved arguments all the time that never can come to a consensus or agreement. It's always disagreements constantly, but that's actually part of a trick that's actually really good.
A little bit of philosophy makes you Deepak Chopra. Studying philosophy
Yeah.
makes you an alcoholic.
Yeah.
But the question here, Dave, is, you know, what do you mean by a little?